Welcome back to the Zero Waste Asia Newsroom. I'm Robi Kate Miranda, Communications Officer for Campaigns of GAIA Asia Pacific, reporting here from Geneva, Switzerland for the second part of the fifth session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee on Plastic Pollution, also known as INC 5.2. Joining us today is Arpita Bhagat, Plastics Policy Officer of GAIA Asia Pacific. Hi, Arpita. How are you?
Well, as good as I can be, I am standing right in front of the UN office, and on my other side is the new installation, which will be
Mhm.
drowning in plastic waste as we progress the negotiations to indicate the need for urgent action to end plastic pollution.
All
Back to you,
right.
Robbie.
Thank you so much, Arpita, for the little tour in the UN office. To start off, how are the negotiations progressing so far?
So we have some good uh, updates with the champion countries, but you
Mhm.
also continue to have similar challenges on procedure as before. And a lot of the discussions are now moving into informals, which of course we started doing yesterday. And just to clarify what informals mean is essentially when country members can't agree to certain
Mhm.
articles, certain provision within the contact groups, they resolve to going into informals where basically they try to negotiate what their position are, and informers are not open to observers in civil society. So I suppose that's where members states can be more open about their positions and try to come to some kind of conclusion. However, it must be added that so far the informals we have had, for example, on the article on emissions and and leakages, and also on, I suppose, on finance, haven't really led to any decisive conclusion. Robbie?
All right. So during this INC, how do you think are the voices of civil society and also the plastic industry influencing the direction of the treaty?
Oh, well, that's been an issue with these negotiations from the start, right? We've been seeing an increasing participation of industry, and in these negotiations, we have been seeing actually more industry coming up as part of the formal delegation setup. I think one of the things that folks who are not participating in the negotiations that they might not realize is that industry, because of their economic influence and because of their inroads with the government and easy access to country delegates, then civil society impacted groups, for example, are able to host these massive events. And we've been having a lot of industry backed
Mhm.
IFI-led financial institutions-led events in the last just 3 days, and they are very important spaces to kind of get country delegates in the same room, get media attention, and really try to influence the perspective of country delegates. So it's not just within the negotiations halls; it's also outside of those spaces that we are seeing industry increasingly trying to push their agenda, especially what we have been following is around innovative finance and credits and offsets related schemes, which is something we're very worried about. But we have the official provisional list of participants. I think it was shared by the Secretariat about 2 days ago. You can already see that the participation in terms of registration, in terms of attendance, has grown. Over 3,500 people are here, and massive delegations actually. So I'd be happy to share that because it's in the public domain. But we are still hoping to receive some kind of analysis from our ally, CL, on how the industry participation is actually grown based on that provisional participant. Yes, I think it should be out within a day or so. Robbie?
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Arpita. And you mentioned already about some key topics. Now let's jump into the priorities of the Asia Pacific countries. So what are their priorities during this time of negotiation?
Well, Asia Pacific is not the most progressive region, as everyone is aware. We have latest research as well. I think it was said 2, 3 days ago. I can look up. Um, we have majority of producing plastic producing polymer producing countries in that region. So they're not the best. But in terms of our members, I think the GAIA members who are here, their spirit is unrelenting, and they've been working for the last many months to kind of, in, for example, push the language around reuse more strongly. And we saw some progress happening in that regard yesterday, both from the champions we have in Asia, but also from Africa group of negotiators, which is supported by some Latin American countries as well. So we are very happy about that progress. At the same time, there are some concerns, and I'm specifically right now talking about contact with two, which is from Article 7 onwards till I suppose it's 10, 7, 8, 9, 10. And with regards to some of the other priorities, we also saw the language around energy recovery being supported by certain countries. But again, we have the ambitious countries from Africa actually pushing to remove that language from the article on plastic waste management. We unfortunately also had addition of chemical recycling from one of the countries. And so, there's some wins and some losses. They're likely going to be more informals. With regards to health, there's a lot of work that is being done by our allies. Healthcare Without Harm is working with the WHO for the many months now, and they're hoping to gather country delegates who are going to be able to push for a strong health mandate. And not just with the article on health, which is Article 19, but I think the protections to human health and human rights need to be reflected across the text. And we saw some countries championing that in articles around 7, 8, but also the article on contact with one with the objectives that I saw on day one of the negotiations. So we have good champions, Robbie, and we have majority of countries championing a lot, including some very strong proposals like the Swiss and Mexico proposal on Article 3 gained a lot of traction. The proposal on Article 20, which is about right to vote, to kind of really bring back the fact that we need voting to happen if all efforts for consensus are not helping. And we had a majority of countries supporting that. So that was a good, I think, relief for a lot of us. Of course, the consensus papers are available, but just to point out, we have 100+ countries supporting voting in talks. And that's essential so that this process deadlock that the negotiations have been locked in do not get repeated in the when the implementation starts through the conference of parties after ratification. Robbie?
All right, thank you so much, Arpita. So we really have some wins and also challenges. So as the talk continues, are there any other key points or key issues or turning points that we should be watching closely?
Oh, well, there is so much to watch out. There are some countries who have gone back on ambition, whereas there are certain countries who are really standing strong at this stage and in fighting for the inclusion of indigenous peoples. So I suppose I remember correctly, Canada had a proposal on the inclusion of indigenous people. This was supported by 45 countries, if I remember correctly. And that was really great to see. We had some countries supporting, the strong language around disposition, waste pickers inclusion as part of Article 8, but also overall recognizing that this transition is important in the finance, and that's the fight we will keep doing. because ultimately, let's remember, without robust finance, there is absolutely no point of a strong of a treaty, because it won't be implementable, right? And those fights remain. We have a good set of articles coming out that were exposing the falsehoods around plastic credits, for example, exposing. So in writers, I mean, I should mention this. There was an article yesterday which spoke to the US, actually, the United States of America, sending these emails via their embassies to some countries. I think in an effort to influence them, in an effort to emphasize that if the countries do not follow their position, which is to exclude any kind of global mandate for polymer reduction, on chemical phase out, on anything, this is actually they would they would foresee more trade tariffs. So it was sort of soft threatening, but the worry is that some countries might have been affected by that. Some countries might have decided to still stay strong because with this current administration, I need to emphasize this for all our members who are listening, for our countries who might be watching. Really, the current administration is unpredictable. So whether we follow their quote unquote orders or not, we really don't know what they will do. And as we have seen, the tariffs have been quite unpredictable, quite you know, illogical even. So I think these kind of threats are pointless because we know the unpredictability with this administration remains, and their attitude towards countries in global south has been terrible, and that will be the case whether we fight for ambition or not. So we rather fight for ambition because we want justice for our community, we want justice for our people, and that's a reminder we need to keep giving to our countries who are siding with the wrong folks at this point. Robbie?
All right, thank you so much, Arpita, for sharing all these important updates, and we will keep a close eye also on how things develop from here. So to our viewers, please stay informed, stay engaged, and continue advocating for a strong treaty. For the latest news, please follow Zero Waste Asia Newsroom and Zero Waste Asia News Breaks on our social media. Find us at Zero Waste Asia on Instagram and YouTube, and GAIA Asia Pacific on Facebook and LinkedIn. Once again, this is Robi Kate Miranda signing off, and join us again tomorrow for more updates from the Global Plastic City negotiations here in Geneva, Switzerland. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.